For centuries, money was simple: coins, barter, and trust between neighbours. If you needed to borrow, you asked family or a lord. Interest was forbidden by the church. Usury was sin. Trade was local, risky, and slow. Then, in medieval Italy, a group of merchants did something extraordinary. They didn't break the rules, they rewrote them. They created a system where money could move without moving, where debt became a tool, and where a city-state could fund wars with paper promises. This was the birth of modern banking. Welcome to Money Evolution, where we trace the hidden journey of money, wealth, and power through the ages. And nothing is ever as simple as it seems. The story begins in the 12th century, in the bustling city-states of northern Italy: Florence, Genoa, Venice. These weren't feudal kingdoms, they were merchant republics. Power came not from land or armies, but from trade. Silk from China, spices from India, wool from England, Italy sat at the crossroads. But moving gold and silver across mountains and seas was dangerous. Robbers, pirates, warlords, every journey carried risk. So merchants invented something clever: the bill of exchange. A merchant in Florence could sell goods in Bruges, receive a bill promising payment in Florence, and transfer that bill to another merchant for cash. No coins changed hands. The bill was a promise, a debt on paper. Interest was hidden in the exchange rate, a loan disguised as currency conversion. This was banking before banks existed. By the 13th century, the system grew more sophisticated. Families like the Bardi, Peruzzi and Medici became international bankers. They lent to kings and popes. Edward III of England borrowed from the Bardi to fund his wars in France. When he defaulted, the Bardi collapsed. But the Medici learned the lesson. They diversified. They built a network of branches across Europe. They used double-entry bookkeeping, debits and credits on both sides, to track every transaction. This wasn't just accounting, it was a revolution. It made fraud harder and trust easier. For the first time, a merchant in Venice could know exactly what his cousin in London owed him. The real breakthrough came with public debt. In Venice, the government needed money for wars against Genoa. They forced citizens to lend, prestiti. These were loans to the state, paying 5% interest, and they could be traded. A Venetian noble could sell his prestiti to another citizen. Suddenly, debt was liquid. It became an asset. Citizens weren't just taxpayers, they were investors in the Republic. The state could borrow without begging. This was the foundation of sovereign debt markets. The Medici took it further. They became the Pope's bankers. They financed cathedrals and wars. They used their wealth to gain political power. Cosimo de' Medici ruled Florence without ever holding office. Banking wasn't just business, it was power. But it was fragile. When a king defaulted, entire families fell. When trade routes shifted, banks collapsed. The system survived because trust survived. Trust in the ledger, trust in the family, trust in the city. By the 17th century, the model spread north. Amsterdam and London built on Italian foundations. The Bank of Amsterdam in 1609 offered safe deposits and transfers. The Bank of England in 1694 created permanent national debt. But the blueprint was Italian. The merchant families of Florence, Venice and Genoa invented modern finance. They turned promises into power. They made money move without moving. They showed that banking is not about gold, it's about belief. Today, every credit card, mortgage and investment fund traces its roots to those Italian merchants. Their ledgers became our algorithms. Their bills of exchange became our wire transfers. Their prestiti became our bonds. The system is more complex now, but the core remains the same: trust. When trust breaks, empires fall. When trust holds, civilizations rise. The origins of banking show us something profound. Finance has always been about people, about promises, about belief in the future. History explains it all, and we will help you explore. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe and join the journey as we reveal truth from the ages.